Hello, everybody, and welcome. So I'm going to stop sharing here. And where are you ready for another segment of what we're trying to do, which is educate the people and let everybody know that there is a solution. And fortunately for us, we started way back when, and now that this lockdown and pandemic, sort of, um, has creeped up on us and has everybody at home while they do what? Get ready to be able to make sure that they can locate us at any time, to know if, under the excuses of needing to give us a vaccine and giving us a passport, vaccine passport, so that we can go out and work and go out and shop. And, I mean, 1984. Yep. You know how many people said that that was conspiracy theories? The ones who actually started the conspiracies were our governments themselves, the elite, and the ones behind the scenes controlling everything. So, what I wanted to do tonight, it was to be able to show you exactly, why this is happening. So I'm going to recap a little bit of what we did. We now know that SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19 can be cured very easily, even if you're on your deathbed, with a steroid. Okay, there's only a certain type of steroid, and right now I can't think of the name of it. But some of the other steroids don't work. But what these doctors were able to do was identify. They were able to collect the virus infecting a person's lungs, and then they tested the medications, and there you have it. End of story. There's a cure. So no vaccines needed. So as long as they keep persisting that we'll need a vaccine. So this is why we have to question um, the presidents and the prime ministers of countries, because they keep uh, singing this tune that, oh, a vaccine will come and the vaccine will come, and we can't really open up anything until a vaccine is here, and because we're going to have a second and third wave and whatnot, and we covered this in our other segments from last night. However, it really bothers me to like, how can Trump, okay, who's been told 3 times about steroids being able to cure COVID, not a problem. You don't need to have the distancing. You don't need to, I mean, you should still watch, but come on, people, we need to, that herd immunity. We need to be able to make antibiotics and whatnot. So none of that is truly feasible now. But these doctors had been treating over, well, hundreds of patients. I think it was over 300 for two separate places. And they had huge success with the steroid. And they've told the, the White House 3 times about it, and they keep getting ignored. Why is that? Ask yourself, question everything. And this needs to be our new motto: question everything, trust nothing. Okay. The only ones we can trust right now is ourselves. And because we don't know where the information is coming from, who's giving the information, how it's coming about. A person today asked me, she says, Nicole, why are the government now calling us their clients? Well, there you have it, global governance. Okay, so I think it was last year, or maybe no, the year before, where all of the governments changed their IT programs and everything like that, and that's when we started seeing that we are now clients of the government. They no longer they don't work for us. They never have. Okay, and this is what people don't understand. So before we go into global governance, I'd like to explain again, to recap yesterday, what was said, because what happens here is that people don't even understand how our municipal, provincial, and federal government works or politics altogether. Okay. Just go and vote once every 4 years and then wash your hands of it, right? Well, guess what? Then you wake up one day and you're stuck at home, and then you're told that you're going to, before you can come out of your home and take back your life, you're going to have to test for a virus that is nothing more than another version of the flu, the SARS, and they've been treating SARS, MERS, and all these coronaviruses, since I don't know how long. Well, SARS came out in 2003. Okay, so they've been using steroids on all of these things and all of the versions of it. So, and it worked fine. Somehow, this time they were told not to use steroids, but the doctors decided to go against what they were told because they were frustrated, and they decided, well, their patients come first. Okay, so this is how this good news came about, and thank goodness they did. That they didn't follow the protocol from the World Health Organization. I mean, why not let people die, right? So people who were on their deathbed actually walked out of the hospital after being on a short-term steroid use. Longer use, better benefits, but we all know that you can't use these medical steroids for long periods of times. They use them on animals, they use them on people. But anyways, make a long story short, now we're starting to know the truth. And this lockdown is a scam. And it's a scam to be able to go into this global governance. And if you look behind me, you see there what all the blue marks are. That's going to, they've already programmed everybody to be able to do like they did with the doctors who said, hey, we need to open up the country again, and this virus isn't as bad as what everybody was saying. So they're well prepared to their proper how can I say, they have created propaganda to against the truth. And then people think that their propaganda is the truth. So what's black is white and what's white is black. You got to reverse everything around. It's like living in the twilight zone. Okay. When I started seeing the documents change within the government websites and all of this, this is how we were able to keep up, like to research public-private partnerships, the Security Prosperity Partnership Agreement in 2008. So we were able to see that every political party, okay, every politician, okay, minus the odd ones who tried but couldn't do anything because of party politics, have strung us along and made sure to never, never, never give us our rights. And I could tell you that even prior to 1867, Canadians were free, and so were the First Nations. England had walked away because they figured they'd have a hard time. So, and then when John A. Macdonald had this grand idea, he was able to get a few people, get them together, a French guy in Quebec, and get the other two provinces on board. They split up Canada, which was was French and English, but mostly French. So what he did is, they got people from the States to come, and the ones who didn't want to lose their titles because they didn't want to be free from Britain because they'd lose their titles, they all moved here, and then they made sure that they had more of a population for Ontario once they decided to split Canada into two provinces. So Canada was only two provinces, okay? And then they confederated into with two others. Okay, so what happened then is then all of a sudden John A. Macdonald went to the UK with this constitution, about 67 or 68 points, and then it came back with over 140 of them. So the UK was back in the ball, back in the game, and so they passed an act and called it the BNA Act for Canada in 1867. And then they had to, rushing back to 19th, going forwards to 1931 with Mackenzie King and the coup d'etat that happened against the English crown, with all of the countries getting together and saying, okay, well, now we're going to be independent from you. Uh, but we still want to keep the queen. Why? Because a lot of the countries want to make sure that the ones in charge, the elite, could still control the masses, the people in each of the countries, and the indigenous nations. They wanted to keep the control as though Britain was still there. So it was kind of a real eye opener to go through all of this history and to actually read the actual documents between Canada and England and the correspondence there, so that we can get the gist of what's actually coming on. Hang on. And no, it's not COVID. And if it was, who cares? uh, anyways, allergy time and coughing time. So a lot of people are going to be coughing. So people, just a reminder, don't assume everybody's got COVID, okay? You're not going to die from COVID. Most of you already have an immune system. So back to where we were. With Canada 1931, what happened was, they had the Imperial Conference up till 1926, and then we came out. Canada helped wrote the Statute of Westminster. But the thing is Canada didn't do like all of the other countries. And what they did is they kept the queen on so that they can still kind of look like they're still under Britain. So they gave the queen, the name. They named her as the Queen of Canada, the Queen of Australia, the Queen of New Zealand, blah blah blah. So 16 countries altogether still kept the queen. The reason for that being is that, again, for control. So, but with Canada, what happened is anybody who still kept the original constitution since before 1931, that document's copyrights belongs to England. And the queen, well, people think she's the one that's the boss. She owes her title to the Imperial Parliament, the Parliament of England. Okay. They're the boss, and they decide who's going to be king or queen of England. Okay. So a lot of people have misconceptions about what Canada is. Canada is a de facto country. Well, no, it's not really a de facto country. Okay. We do have a de jure government, and we've had it for quite some time. The only difference is that the people are not the sovereigns. Okay. So as far as de facto means, that can mean a lot of different things. And it's like, okay, well, the queen's not here, so the governor general acts for the queen in a de facto position. Okay. The governor general has all kinds of duties. He's supposed to represent the people for the queen and blah, blah, blah. But they haven't done that for years and years and years because 1931, all the power went to the government. And that's how they set things up. And then again, they still kept it up in 1982 when Trudeau apparently brought home the Constitution. So the Constitution itself can be amended. So what we can, when they patriated the Constitution, the way that it works is that we can change things in our Constitution, but we can't change the Constitution itself and have another one. Okay. So because of that, a lot of people get confused. People think that as taxpayers, we rule. Okay. Been there, done that. Now it's a different story. But it doesn't mean because you're a taxpayer or because you vote in elections, it doesn't mean that you have a say. Okay. And even though they've given us rights and freedoms, it's only up to the time that the government decides to take them away. They can take them away at any time. If there's a law that they're getting hammered on, they can call it quits overnight. The judges have to stop everything, and they can change the law, and then your court case just went straight to hell. So in the Constitution, it's supposed to be the law of the land, But in the end, it's the law of the sole shareholder. So the Canadian government, as far as our constitution goes, the sole shareholder, okay, the corporation sole belongs to Her Majesty the Queen, okay? But Her Majesty the Queen is represented by the Canadian government. So all of her duties are now in the hands and the responsibility of the Canadian government. So having said this, the government also has final decision making authority that the Queen would normally have, okay, as a royal prerogative. So it doesn't matter, even if Justin Trudeau were to kill somebody tomorrow, or one of his buddies kills somebody, he can give himself or whoever killed the next person total immunity. Nothing we can do about it. But mind you, he'd have to ask permission from his political party, because it's not Justin Trudeau who rules the Canadian government. It's the Liberal Party who won the election. Okay, they just placed Justin Trudeau there as your, little lollipop for you guys to be attracted to. And that's how the ball rolls. So really, when you're looking at our political system, what they did is in 1931, with the Statute of Westminster, we were supposed to be for free people. And what they did is they just allowed us to self-govern, okay? And we're supposed to also have self-determination. But they didn't want us, the leaders, okay, not John A. Macdonald, but Mackenzie King and his cronies and the wealthy did not want to give the people that benefit. So, they had formed government. And so in 1867, when they formed government, what we did is then the people, if you wanted to vote for this party and that party and to be part of that government, then you became a member of that government. And, or, you wanted some of the benefits and you became a taxpayer of that government. So the government in Canada is the one that rules, not the people. Even though you're taxpayers, even though you think you have rights, they can be taken away. There's also something called when the people in the UK, the ministers, saw what was going on in Canada and what Pierre Trudeau had sent to them to approve, because in the Statute of Westminster, there's a clause in there that says that neither the government of Canada nor the provinces can change the Constitution without the enactment of the United Kingdom. Only the United Kingdom can do it for them. Why? Because since 1931, we have to pay copyrights to use the Queen as our sovereign. Okay? If you look at our Canadian Constitution, look at section 2 there, okay? And it does say copyrights belongs to England, not the Queen, to the imperial government of England. So we've been paying royalties to use the Queen on our dollar and on everything, and to say she's the Queen of Canada. But first and foremost, she's the Queen of England. She can't be the Queen of Canada, and then if there's an issue between Canada and England, her responsibility is to England, not Canada. So a lot of this, people, it's common sense, is that nobody stops and thinks about it. And you need to understand what your rights are. So right now, you have 0 rights under an emergency such as this one. This is martial law, people. You're getting a taste of martial law. And the last time we had martial law in Canada, the nations have been under martial law a couple times, especially Six Nations. But Canadians, the martial law right now, it hadn't been seen in years, and only Pierre Trudeau had called martial law in Quebec, in Montreal, actually. So now Justin is following in the footsteps of his daddy, and his daddy was working for Global Governance. And this is how long this has been in the works. This predates Pierre Trudeau. It actually began under Codex Alimentarius in 1962. Okay. So once you start researching Codex Alimentarius and everything that's been going on, and then you understand that in our governance, you know, the people are supposed to rule. We're supposed to be free countries. And this is what the politicians since 1931 have told you. Okay. Oh, we're a free country. We have a free people. We live in a democracy. It's bull. Okay. And people are so used to thinking that and thinking, oh, your vote counts. We need your vote. Oh, yeah. They really need your vote. Why? So you can give them all the power. Because in 1960, worldwide, the law the decolonization law for the indigenous nations, actually, in the end, it came out that everybody, all the peoples are free, and we're supposed to be able to have the right to self-determination and self-governance. And this is what I did my studies on. And it wasn't easy because then we could see that even at the international level, even though they've come out with these laws, there's always a law that contradicts the laws that they create. And if you look at Canada, a lot of our laws contradict themselves. So when you go to court, of course you're going to, you might lose your court case. They might let you win, one or two, just to show that, yeah, they're going to help you. They want people to think that, oh, we got one over the government, right? So, the whole end game here is a war for your mind, is a war for control of your your body, your soul, your mind, everything. And the reality is that in Canada, yes, they're supposed to, answer to the people, but only in pretense. Okay. So they'll say that they owe the public, accounting and all this. They have to have a good accounting because, we pay for all of these things and that they're supposed to give us. And they say that they work for us, but no, they don't. We work for them. And that's a stark reality when you start seeing the fine print, when you start reading between the lines, when you start seeing the correspondence between countries, and then you begin to understand the dynamics. So with this COVID and this pandemic and the martial law lockdown, okay. Now, if people go out on the street, you might be called a murderer because you're putting people in danger. You're gonna kill me if you come within 6 feet of me. I mean, that's the ridiculousness that is going on in this country. There's no more common sense. People don't even stop to think. They don't even stop to read. They just sit by that TV and just regurgitate it and, remain brainwashed because it's too hard to think these days. Common sense. Hey, that's a superpower. And I like to say that because, yeah, anybody with common sense has a superpower. So anyways, to come back to that, I hope that you're understanding a bit of what I'm saying, because in the end, yes, at the international level, we still have a right. And yes, as a people, when the way that the politics are with the political parties and representative democracy, they had to kind of play the game, right? So they had to lure us into a position where we'd have to vote for a political party of our choice to run for 4 years. And oh, we need your vote, and your voice matters. But in the meantime, your voice really doesn't matter. Okay, they have the only ones that have democracy in Canada are it's parliamentary democracy. And in Canada, even the government, through strict constitutional law, because copyright of our constitution still belongs to the UK. You can't touch it other than change some of the laws. But that doesn't belong to Canadians. That belongs to the United Kingdom. Okay, copyrights, people, copyrights. So, uh, you know, we know the rest of the story behind that and what needs to be done in court to be able to achieve that. But anything we try to do, we have to unite together. And we need at least 51% of Canadians or 51% of the voters to get together, sign a citizens convention of consent, which is what we call that now. Like it's actually your letter of independence. It's our letter of independence. It's a collective letter of independence by the people for the people. And as long as we have majority, the majority can rule. And the thing is, you heard a lot of people talk about the RIC and all this, and they want the RIC. But the thing is, even if we were to ask for referendums continuously, in a referendum, if you don't have veto power, you can hold a referendum all you want. But if the government decides, we still don't like the way they went, we'll give them a referendum and hope to steer them in the right direction. We'll give the folks the questions the way we want it. And then we'll give them a referendum. And then we'll decide, if it's good or not. And then we don't even need to tell them the real numbers anyway. Who's going to see it? They're not allowed to see it. Oh, now we're going to help Canadians. We're going to give you the Freedom of Information Act. It's harder to get the information now than before the Freedom of Information Act. Like, hello, talk about reverse psychology. Well, what you see behind me is exactly that. Global governance, reverse psychology, to get Dominions to want, we're going to be world citizens. And that's why they call you a client now. As a world citizen, you have no rights to natural resources in your country. You have no rights other than voting whenever they ask you to, and being a good little soldier for them, with, don't talk to me, that's fake news. Keep believing the government, keep drinking the Kool-Aid, and they will love you for it. Okay. So when we're looking at this global governance issue, you really have to try to understand what your rights are in Canada legally. So legally, the only thing we can do is to all be on board with a citizens convention of consent, a legal citizens convention of consent, and be able to come up with the right arguments to win our court case, because everything is in the debate. Okay, whoever can debate the best, whoever can keep coming back with answers, okay, is the one that's going to win the case. Now, most lawyers in Canada don't know half of the stuff that we've come up across, because just by the responses, even constitutional lawyers have no clue what the hell we're talking about when we're saying, well, we need, a lawyer to represent us. And they'll say, well, no, the Constitution belongs to the people. Well, excuse me, you better go back to school. But they were only taught, not to their own fault. But when you say that even, our present Minister of Justice, David Lametti, in front of almost a dozen people, had to admit that I'm right. At first, it was no. But, after you start talking to the lawyers and you say, yeah, but listen, it's the people that rule here. We live in a free country. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, but you get to vote for a politician. Oh, yeah, to rule over me for 4 years. And if I have an issue, I can go and talk to them, but nothing ever gets done. Or now in Ontario, they're not allowed to do the bidding of their constituents because it's conflict of interest. I have a letter to that effect. Okay. By the ministers themselves and by the commissions. They're not supposed to be helping you. It's conflict of interest. So why do you vote? You're giving away your rights for 4 years, all of your power. So we've been trying to tell people this for I don't know how many years, and they have a hard time getting that into their heads. Because right now, the non-voters outdo the voters. And there's reason for that. Nobody's interested in these governments because they're a scam. Politicians, I'm sorry if I'm hurting the feelings of politicians, but none of you have the balls to get educated as to why you should even be in parliament or in legislature at, either provincial or federal. Now you come and tell me why people should vote for you if you don't even know that being there, you're taking away the right of your people, your constituents, to their voice. Now, if you're a politician and you say, hey, I'm going to stand up for the people's rights, I'm going to make sure that the people have the last say in referendums and everything that we do, because they're the boss. In reality, they're the boss. So now, if a politician doesn't want to do that, they're nothing but a scammer and a hypocrite. Or they'll say, oh, well, the people aren't intelligent enough, or aren't able to make the decisions we have to make. Well, none of yous are either, because who took courses to be able to do these things, and you get switched around from departments and you don't even know, and then you have to go. The representatives only represent, and then they have their minions working underneath who do all the work and who tell them what to do. So really, the one who's running the show is the little secretary and the assistants, or the little committees that are working underneath them. And that's reality, folks. Why do they have to be briefed? And now they are passing bills in private under this martial law. Let's call it what it is. It's not just a lockdown or quarantine. It's a martial law, because here I have a document. Okay, and I read that to you. Well, I mentioned it to you the other day. Okay, from Alberta. And they're taking the rights to do what they want, for certain periods of time while they figure out what to do and how to reopen the economy and allow people out of the house, and not too many, or only different sectors, because, well, maybe different sectors, they've had time to install the 5G, because they need the 5G to be able to monitor, when you use, to allow you to be able to get out of your home and get back to work, and make sure that you get vaccinated like a good little boy or a good little girl, and you listen to your government, because now they need to have us all dociled. Hey, let's make pot legal. Let's keep them all stoned or drunk or whatever. And what did they keep open in this pandemic? Beer stores? Oh, that's a necessity? Seriously? And then when I question that, somebody said, well, yeah, well, they need the alcohol, the LCBO, to be open so that people can use the alcohol to wash their hands. Anyway, Twilight Zone. Excuse me. But you really need to stop and think as to what is going on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a screen share. So right now, to round it all up, the only way that Canadian citizens will have any say in Canada is when we stand up and take our power back, stop this global governance, and to say to hell with that. We're keeping our rights to our natural resources. We're not allowing you to give away all of the rights to the corporations, and that we become the clients of the corporations who are now running our country, because that's what the public-private partnerships are. Private corporations running our governance, and they have more investment, okay, more shares into these things than our own government. So then when it comes time to vote or for redistribution of money, the private corporations have 51% of the say, and they can decide not to give us anything back of the money they're using, or that we're paying out to pay them to control us and to use us and to abuse us. So how many times are you going to bend over and take it, people? How many? I think this COVID, I'm sad for the people that were hurt by it, but I know that the ones that were hurt by it and died from it was because of bad protocols that the doctors were using, because of the World Health Organization. And these people were already suffering from C. difficile and things like that, and, heart disease or whatnot. So, but the thing is freedom. Our freedom is not worth a pity party and to say, "Oh my God, you're being so negative," and you got to think about the frontline workers, and they put their lives at risk. They put their lives at risk for what? A common cold, a flu that most people are already testing positive for in their feces, because we already had it. It didn't just come from China. People, wake up. Okay, but that's another show. So I'm gonna do a screen share. And if you're serious about saving this country and your family and standing up for your rights, you don't like what this government is doing, you're starting to have to see through the common sense here. You've got time, you're sitting at home and you're thinking, and now you can see a little bit past your nose, because before you might have been too busy and didn't think or never assumed that the government would do such a thing. But it's not just our government, it's governments worldwide, even those you think you trust. And those who actually help them achieve this don't even know they helped them to achieve it in the first place. And this is what we've seen. So if you want to do that, please go to thepowershift.ca. The solution is there for you. We've done everything. We're ready for it. We just need you to be ready to take matters into your own hands. Be responsible for this country along with every other Canadian. And then we'll decide how much money we can print, who gets what. The corporate, we can take under our governance. We have the right. All those corporations in Canada, registered under Canada, would come under our control. You don't want Monsanto in here anymore. You want to see what's going on with the chemtrails. People are, being sick, going into having high respiratory problems, like, hidden under COVID. But then they're not telling you about what they're spraying in the air. And then I can show you proof that, we have beautiful strawberries one day. The next day after they sprayed, half the strawberry is blue, purple fuzz on it. Okay. Only the ones that were exposed to the air and the ones who were underneath and covered up were safe. So anyways, you really need to think about this. And if you want to understand what global governance is, you need to understand what's coming at us, because global governance means this is going to be a world government that is going to dictate what every other government, like all of the nations can do, all of the countries can do, if and when, and they will control all of the natural resources on this planet. We no longer have any rights. That's why we become world citizens. Okay, world citizens and only clients. We lose all sovereign rights to the natural resources in our countries and to our own rights at their whim. Okay, you're seeing it now, people. You're living it now, because the world government has been established in Dubai since 2017. And then they created what we call open government. Open government, this is where all of the countries have to report to where? The World Bank, under the USA. The USA is in charge of open government. And this was established back in 2011 by Harper and Obama were one of the first ones to establish this. And Harper finally took the credit for it in 2012, but never said a word, because he didn't want anybody to know what he was doing behind the scenes. So you know what? Whether you're a conservative, you're a liberal, or a PCP or PPP, or you know what? As long as you're a politician and you want to make the decisions for the people, you are not for the people. If you're a politician that wants to give all the power to the people right away, not, in 6 months down the line. No. Then if you sign me a paper today that you want to hand over the reins to the people, the minute you get voted in, you have to step down as final decision, that you no longer have final decision-making authority. But first of all, you can't even promise that because you don't have the power throughout all the provinces. And because somebody might have voted in another political party, you'd have to have majority rule to be able to pull that off. And will your corporate sponsors allow you to do that? You better think again. So the only way we're going to be able to have our freedom, people, is to take it ourselves legally through a legally binding agreement between each citizen that signs it. It's an agreement between all of us, but it only becomes effective once we reach the numbers high enough to be able to go to court and say, okay, boom, here's a constitutional challenge. That constitution, we need to remove the Queen from that one and remove the ownership out of the hands of the UK. Okay, we need to finalize end this copyright agreement. Okay, ASAP. So these are, and there's a lot more involved than that, but this is just like the gist of it. So anyways, we have to take it in order to have rights, true rights, not given rights, pity party rights, and false rights to make us think that, oh, we have rights. And yesterday I explained that even though there's human rights at the international level, they really don't fall into play here because Canada gave us our rights. Okay. So that then their excuse is, well, we already gave them that, and we already kind of do that anyway in another sense. So the UN, but the UN again was a controlled opposition. Again, with having the same laws contradict each other. So when we go to court, we have to argue all of these contradictive laws. And thank you to a lot of scholars out there, because the lawyers, when they look at our Constitution, they only focus on our Constitution. They don't think of the people being in power. They all go, okay, well, the Constitution says this, and oh no, you can't do that. And then, oh, but we can do this and we can do that. And again, they forget about constitutional conventions that are not included in the Constitution, but that's what they call the unwritten part of our Constitution. So a lot of people think that our Constitution is just that, but we also have an unwritten part of the Constitution, which comes into effect through the constitutional conventions. That the constitutional conventions are agreements between the provinces and the federal government, or between the ministers, to change laws without even having to tell us, or something in the Constitution without even having to tell us. Something like our accounting, IFRS, that they've just slapped us with, which is fraudulent. And you have accountants here, who are really upset about that. Al Rosen, and then the Auditor General of Ontario just about had a fit, and all of the other auditors. It's high fraud. And then we've got Morneau, taking care of this. So when I thought, well, I'm going to take this to court, well, excuse me. Well, it goes against the Constitution. It says that they have to use GAAP, good accounting. Oh, no, but now we're going into international accounting. Okay, so our accounting's all being changed without our okay. And when you look at our Constitution, well, you'd swear they just committed a crime. Oh, but they didn't. They all agreed. Okay. At least 6 of the provinces agreed to pull it off. So were these 6 in each province plants, political plants, to do whatever the corporations who buy out our governance? And then we have all of these, Tom Clark, hypocrite, Mr. How do you call that? Lobbyist. Most of the, and this is another thing too, that you don't know, that most of the television journalists are lobbyists as well, and they make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay. from the corporations to set up agreements between them and the government and whatnot. So lobbying, can't trust the media, can't trust the likes of Tom Clark or even in the US, a lot of them. So there's a lot for you to learn. And like I said, you need to understand. So, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. This is a good reason right now to do it so that we can ensure that our children and their future is safe. And I feel like I've, even though we're under quarantine, I feel like I've been given a new life. And that finally people are realizing what's going on. So we're going to go into this global governance. And I'm going to do a share screen, and then you're going to look at how they've prepared everybody to start screaming, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. No, this is happening, people. You just got to know who to believe, and you have to be able to see through all the beautiful lines that they write, like Agenda 21. Oh, you're going to be a world citizen. Oh my God, I can go anywhere in the world. Yeah, because you won't be able to find a job where you are. Okay. And we're going to displace everybody. And then we're going to blame, we're going to come up with all kinds of diseases because people are being moved around, and blame the migrants because that's what they're doing. Okay. But who's really to blame? Our governments. Our governments sign everything into effect. Bad foods here in Canada, Monsanto, everything that happens to us, the politicians are the one that signs onto this. If you want something to change, don't go and try and sue them for one thing, little thing or one that. Unless you're trying to change, you need to change the system. If you're not changing the system and placing the people above government, you're wasting your time because nothing will really change. And you're wasting everybody else's time. So please, make sure you know what the hell you're doing. Because we're going to be trapped in a global governance. Because when the military really comes into Canada, it's going to be military from elsewhere. Because they won't care about Canadians, and that's been planned a long time ago, and that's been said. So somebody else is going to come here to keep us chained, and then they're going to send our military in another country to go and abuse other people. So now people really have to look at their moral values and their moral sense. This is where the military and the police and everybody need, and even the doctors who are not stepping up right now to tell the truth about this COVID virus, and that it's nothing, it's compared to, it's no different than the regular flu season. Okay, so where are you? We're not seeing anybody in Canada rise up. Why? Because you've got no balls. Seriously? You're going to allow 36 million people to go to hell in a handbasket for the nations to lose their rights to their natural resources and their territories because we're going into global governance? Did you lose your soul? Is it still there? Or do you just think, oh, you have one? But really, your actions will judge you. Anybody who doesn't speak up right now, your actions will judge you, because it is your family and everybody else on this planet that's going to pay the price for ignorance and stupidity. Okay. Anyways, I'm sorry. I've had, too many years of this stuff. So anyways, let's go and look at this, and I'm rambling on right now. Okay, so screen share. Okay, so we're going to go to, okay, first of all, I want to show you this one here. This is kind of the videos, they make everything sound so nice, but in reality, it's a crock, okay? So please listen to this.
Migration and education connected? How can boosting innovation, reducing inequality, and combating corruption help us to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals? In an increasingly complex world, these connections can be hard to see. Yet a systemic understanding of global issues is essential. The World Economic Forum developed strategic intelligence as a set of cutting-edge digital tools to explore, understand, and anticipate the forces driving transformations around the world. At its heart are the forum's transformation maps. They depict and analyze the interdependencies between a wide range of topics, illustrating how developments in one area can impact others. By drawing on the collective intelligence of the forum's networks, transformation maps explain the factors driving change across industries, economies, and global issues. For example, by disrupting every aspect of technology, the fourth industrial revolution will have a profound impact on governance and affect the scale and character of conflict. That will test the traditional role of governments, even as they confront other challenges such as the aging populations in advanced economies. Transformation maps cover more than 200 topics and are available in multiple languages. Each topic is defined by its key issues, the most strategic trends shaping that topic. Because we are not looking at topics in isolation, but instead at entire systems in transformation, we highlight how the issues depicted in the map are interdependent with other maps. The content is continuously updated by leading experts from the forum's extensive network. It is supplemented by a machine-curated feed of the latest findings and analysis from top universities and research institutions, and is enhanced by technologies used in machine learning, artificial intelligence, and advanced network analytics. The platform also incorporates economic, social, and political data, as well as time-lapse satellite imagery, allowing you to visualize trends in areas such as sea level rise, deforestation, global trade flows, and the refugee crisis. Strategic intelligence is the World Economic Forum's most advanced knowledge resource you can use to navigate today's increasingly complex and interconnected world.
Okay, so now I'm going to do a stop share. So that's one of them. And right now I'm going to go and look for the World Economic Forum. Okay. And, okay, what was, so you have to look for the World Economic Forum under Intelligence, Strategic Intelligence. Okay. Okay, map. Gotta go to the map. Okay, I'm gonna do a screen share again here so that you can see what I'm seeing. Okay. Now. Okay, we've already seen the video. So these are some of the things that they have. So we're gonna go to global governance. Okay, and here's the map. Oh, log in. Okay. So what I did is I joined the website because I wanted to be able to get their newsletters and know what the hell, you know, that they're going to be coming up with. So, oh, look at all of these things. There we go. Okay, I accept. Now, hopefully you can see all this. Okay, no, I'm still at the side here. I'm going to put myself down. There we go. So now if you look at all of these things, what I have it on the screen there is all of these things. And I know that because I've got the screen really large, I wanted you to listen to this and what they say about global governance.
Here's Thomas Hale from the University of Oxford, describing some of the key issues associated with the topic of global governance.
We need global governance more than ever. In a world of deepening interdependence, global issues are the daily bread and butter of what governments are trying to deliver for citizens. We can't have peace or prosperity, live good lives, unless we're dealing with things like climate change or pandemic disease or global financial crises. But the tools we use to manage these kind of global issues, to manage our interdependence, are increasingly gridlocked. If we think about the global trade system, we haven't had a new trade deal at the multilateral level for about 20 years. If we look at the Middle East, We see uncontrollable wars spiraling out of control without any kind of collective security apparatus to prevent them from slipping over into other issue areas. And related, we see, for example, a global migration crisis where people are moving in search of a better life, in search of human dignity, and not being able to be cared for by a global system that's under incredible strain. For all of these reasons, we need a strong global governance system to help manage our common challenges and deliver the real needs citizens are clamoring for. But unfortunately, we actually see a backlash against global governance. And actually, these two things are linked. In fact, the very failure to manage globalization, to manage global issues, creates conditions under which nationalist or populist movements come to power. Now, those leaders are in many ways articulating legitimate grievances, people who have been hurt by the financial crisis in 2008, for example, or who are struggling to adjust to new realities, are right to stand up and demand some sort of collective solution. But unfortunately, they're increasingly demanding solutions that are not constructive to solving the problem, but instead undermining the ability of governments to cooperate across borders to resolve the problems that it gave rise to the backlash in the first place. And so we see a self-reinforcing cycle of gridlock, where a failure to manage globalization and manage global governance well leads to more reactions against globalization that make the problem even harder to solve. So that's the bad picture. But there's actually a lot of, precisely because this crisis is so severe, there's actually a lot of interesting positive steps and trends underway as well. So if we think about the new actors in the system, there's actually some cause for hope. We've seen rising multipolarity as a cause of some gridlock, but actually some of the emerging economies are coming up with new ideas, new solutions to how to strengthen and change global governance for the better. And that's an interesting domain to look at going forward. We also see new kinds of actors coming to the system. Cities, businesses, civil society groups are all taking a more active role, not just in being part of the global system, but actually in developing global governance tools through more pluralistic institutions. These transnational actors are a big part of the innovations we see. So the global governance map tries to articulate some of these challenges, but also the solutions, with the hope of helping us have a more sophisticated and advanced conversation about how we can collectively work toward bigger solutions.
Okay, so you see this here, okay, anti-globalism, they're really ready for us. But I wanted you to see something down here, okay? If you see, you're looking at my mouse, okay, how the great COVID-19 reset can help firms build a sustainable future, okay? So you can go to here, it's supposed to have videos, but here, see full article. Now, a vote in Burundi, a vaccine price war, and COVID-19 innovation in Africa, the cheat sheet. Okay, coronavirus in the Rohingya camps, 5 key issues to watch. Well, what is COVID-19 and how is it cured, people? Very easily with a steroid. Okay. Now, preventing a COVID-19 food crisis. They are making us go into a food crisis, economic instability. They're crushing our economy so that we can all go into a one world currency, okay? So they are putting us into debt where we're going to owe our shirts, and they're going to say, well, we have no choice now. We're all broke. And then somebody's going to come and say, oh, well, we're going to save the day. Please remember that nobody's going to be the savior here other than the meek in deciding to finally inherit the earth and do their job and taking care of their children the proper way by assuring that we, the people, have the final decision-making authority and that we decide what's going to happen in our municipalities, in our provinces, and in our countries, okay? And then together, each country can get together and make decisions, and we can help each other out. We can reestablish our economy. We're going to be in the driver's seat. You can dare to dream, okay? Because we decide what the value is of our human resources, our natural resources. So we can go right back on track and print all the money that we need to be able to survive amongst ourselves, make sure that our food is safe, that nobody's contaminating our food, that our air is no longer contaminated. And we need to stop them from right now covering the skies with these balloons who will take away our sun. Okay, because that's another thing that's going to be another show as well, because even with climate change or global warming, the nobody stops and thinks about the fact that the earth goes through cycles. It is alive, people. It grows, and then it has changes, and that's always been there. Okay, so they created all these kinds of things for us to band together and demand global governance, because when you're asking for climate action and blah blah blah, okay, they're saying, okay, well, now we all got to get together, but we need a one world government to do all this. Well, that doesn't stop. A world government doesn't have the right to supersede our rights in our nations, in our country. Okay? There's certain issues that could remain under governance, global governance, but it doesn't have to touch the people. Global governance is mostly about the environment or big corporations wanting to have access to the world's natural resources so that they can give the countries a small percentage. Like Canada, 14%, and that came out in the 1900s. The nations were supposed to get a percentage of the corporations coming in. And so the government said, well, we'll take 10% for us and 4% for the nations. So when people are looking at the First Nations and think that their tax dollars are paying for First Nations, well, you've got it all wrong, people, because the natural resources that belong to them still belong to them, who were negotiated through treaties but never truly given to them, and they were defrauded by our own governments of their natural resources and the monies owed to them, and they were used and abused and mistreated. So but because of them, we still have a good chance to fight. And Canadians and the nations and Canadians both need each other right now. We need to stand united so that we can change things. And because of how things are and precedents, we'd be able to win our court case. Okay. And to establish that we, the people, above our government. The Queen no longer needs to be here. She's only there in name only. But right now, because she's there, it takes away our power, and the government has all the power. So in order to do this, we need to sign the Citizen Convention of Consent on the powershift.ca. Please do that. If you have kids 15 and older, please have them sign, have everybody in your family sign. Those who don't have a computer, somebody with a phone that they can sign through their phones, through their iPads. And you can even go to the library. Somebody could go and meet you before it used to be, people used to meet at Timmy's and be able to sign their Convention of Consent on somebody's laptop while using the internet at Timmy's. But anyways, just to give you an idea of this, it's just amazing to me what they're doing here. But I want to just show you that and go back to here. So anti-globalism, and then deepening interdependence. So they're trying to make sure that we depend on everybody. So how do we get to depend on everybody? Well, shortage of food, shortage of money, shortage of jobs, you name it. Okay. We're going back to 1918, people. This is a reality. This is what we're seeing. And it's like they keep redoing things the same way with a new twist. So how much is this different from 1918? Not much, except we're a little bit smarter this time. And then we have good scientists. So and then people who do have the balls to stand up, like the two doctors in Bakersfield. And then, mind you, they were attacked, and I'm sorry for that. But if it was not for them, those are the true heroes, not the frontline workers who were really, thanks to the frontline workers. Yeah, they went ahead and they did some amazing things. Yes, while not knowing if they were taking a chance on their lives. But the governments knew what this meant. They knew about COVID and how it helps them reset everything. Oh, how wonderful. Okay, so now I want to try and find the 5G on here. But anyways, I'm just going to minimize this. Okay. And so 5G is right here. See, interdependence. Now, what are they going to do with 5G? Okay. All of this falls under 5G, people. 5G value creation, the geoeconomic and trade impacts of 5G. 5G business model and transformation, the return on 5G investment, 5G security and critical infrastructure. Here comes, we're all going to, if you eat potato chips, you're going to lose points. If you drink wine, you're going to lose points. If you date somebody or marry somebody from the government, you gain points. If you eat more fruit, you'll gain points. If you donate regularly to charity, you'll gain points. If you don't donate weekly to charity, you lose points. You can't get on the bus, you can't get on the train, you can't get on the plane. Is that the kind of life you want? They're living it in China right now. China is the testing ground for everything. And, there shouldn't be a threat of war between China and the United States and having all of this finger pointing. Let's stop the finger pointing. And actually, I'm just going to open this up here. Okay. Now, I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute. If we stop we can stop the finger pointing and take a step back, make sure that the people are in control of their country in each country, and that nothing can ever interfere with that again. Now's the time to do it. As I said, the meek, this is when the meek are supposed to inherit the earth. So whatever stories they give us with global governance and how great it's going to be, and this is brainwashing mechanisms at its best. They've brainwashed us for years. Go out on the street and see how many people are afraid of you because, oh my God, you're not wearing a mask, and oh my God, you're going to kill them. You're now a murderer, and you're a threat. So what's now a 6-month-old baby can be accused of being a murderer before even having given the chance to life. And then what kind of a life is this baby going to have? What's your freedom worth to you? Seriously. So anyways, I'm going to try and wrap this up and do another screen share here. Okay. So now if you look at all of this here, it's pretty pathetic because they've been working at this for a very, very long time. And, anti-globalism definitely attacking us, transnational actors, and what does that mean for us? Well, again, it means that international corporations will be running our infrastructure in this country. This is where public-private partnerships come in and all of this. So, they're making it look like, oh, they're going to take care of corruption. Well, they're it's like a block. When are people going to realize, one, there's only one group of people controlling many groups or two groups, and then they want to force you to believe one or believe the other? Toss all that aside. You don't need to follow nobody except yourself. As a part of a collective within the Canadian society, as a shareholder, co-owner of the Crown Corporation of Canada, Canada Inc. If the people can wake up to this, we can do this. We don't need to be stuck in our homes. We don't need to listen to what they're saying. Let them come at us. We need to stand up, stand strong, walk out of our homes and take this government and make sure that we are the final decision legally, that we legally take this governance and become the final decision makers in this country. We can do it if everybody takes action. But it won't happen if you just keep twiddling your thumb and ooh and ah and forget everything that's coming at you. All of the information, it's not necessary. You just need to focus on who is best to decide for you, your family, and this country, your future. You or somebody that's going to be in Israel, or somebody that's going to be in Afghanistan, or somebody that's going to be in Taiwan, or somebody that's going to be in Africa, or South America, or the UK, or Luxembourg, or whatever, deciding what you can do sitting in your chair in your backyard. Because this is what global governance means, people. We no longer have rights. Oh, we can travel the world as long as we have what? We're vaccinated to the gills. We have a vaccine passport. And then if we're good citizens, we pay everything on time and we never miss a day's work. Well, then we might be able to take the bus, or we might be able to grab cabs, or we might be able to go shopping and, not have to stay in line, because the bad ones are going to have to wait in line. This is it. So if you go to strategic intelligence I'm going to show you this, okay? The World Economic Forum, strategic intelligence. All of our governments know about this. The opposition in government and politics knew about this. They're all playing dumb. Okay. Even AFN, they've all been in on this. Everybody's playing you people because they think they need to toe the line, and they might not make it anywhere. So now we're looking at post-pandemic reconstruction. Airbus can serve as an investment model for Europe. They posted this Saturday, May 16th, 2020, 1 a.m. Seriously, they've probably created this years ago, if not months ago, before the pandemic. And now they're making it look like, oh, they had time to plan all this out within a couple of months. Seriously? So anyways, they're even saying that they're trying to lure people by saying that, oh my God, we're going to put robots and you can stay home and you're going to get some money because you can't go to work. So we're all going to give you as a universal income and you can all sit at home and do nothing. And then you're going to allow them to do this global governance because, oh my God, we're a welfare state people, and look, our government's going to help us and they're not going to let us down and they're going to support us. And then once it's done, what are they going to do? Did they ever once in 150 years give you your rights? They're not going to do it now. Open government is a scam. They're going to say, oh, well, you can have direct democracy through open government. Direct democracy only matters if we, the people, have final decision-making authority, if we, the people, have control over what happens in our government, if we, the people, have access to all the documents in our governance, that we, the people, say yes or no to international trade and which international companies can come into this country. So anyways, I think that's about good enough for this evening. And like I said, I want to get back into this and to show you this, but you really need to understand how our government works here and to know that, right now, legally, we have zero rights because we are under martial law, healthcare martial law, even though they call it just an emergency. When they tell us we can't leave our houses or go back to work until we get tested because, oh, the boss, like the corporations are so worried. And, they want to make sure the employees aren't infected. Infected with what? Seriously. So it's up to you. We've paved the way for you. Everything's ready to go. We need financial help, for people to go into their communities and talk about this. We need you to get out there and voice your feelings as to what the government has been doing. You need to read about how there's other treatments for this COVID and how really serious it is and how it's not. And then you'll be able to see the blame game and, possibly we can stop this from going into an outright war, because it's an instant replay of 1918, people. Are you going to be smarter this time around or dumber? And just do like they did in Auschwitz. Just, everybody just got on the trains and they listened like good little people. So, would you allow Hitler to rule over you? Oh, no? You're doing it now. So anyways, I'm going to call this a night. And I'm going to put those links in this video. And again, you really need to, this is a time to make our move. We need to take action. Please go to thepowershift.ca, e-sign your Citizens Convention of Consent in either English or French. If you have any problems, please contact us. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you again tomorrow evening. And, anywhere between 8 and 9 p.m. because I have no guarantees as to being able to have access to the internet. It keeps cutting in and out. We can't make any plans because I don't think Zoom or anybody in the world was really ready to have everybody online. But because we need to be online, they had to create this COVID-19 to make sure we all got online, and then all the kids got computers at home so we can all get connected to 5G, the Internet of Things. And welcome to global governance. Little puppets. Well, not this one, over my dead body. Thank you. Good night, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Bye-bye.